Welcome to the first podcast of the Nice Business podcast with me, Richard Train of Richard L.Train Consulting, and Jim Bob Howard, my longtime friend and veteran technical consultant.
Hello.
So together we have more than 60 combined years of business experience. The purpose of this podcast is to have short but meaningful discussions about the people and culture side of business and how owners and executives can be both kind and successful.
That all sounds great. So, what should people get from the Nice Business podcast?
Well, we'll be discussing many topics that businesses and organizations of all sizes face on a daily basis, and we'll refer to both of our own experiences and also occasionally invite people to join us for discussions to help listeners tackle their business stressors with decisiveness, but also with kindness.
That sounds great. So, how do people listening to this podcast know they're in the right place?
Well, you're in the right place if you know that there are people and culture issues in your company that are affecting the bottom line and you want a positive, healthy way to solve them. Now, you know this, I typically distill most business problems down to two categories. They're either drama problems or they're math problems. Now, the math problems are causing stress, confusion, which can also lead to confrontation, i.e., drama. But the drama problems are tricky ones. You don't see them until later when they start affecting the bottom line, and you don't really know why.
Well, I think I understand the math problems. That's pretty straightforward. What's an example of a drama problem we'll discuss?
A drama problem, for example, effective communication skills. Big topic, but all offices face them, and they can't really quantify just how bad they are within their teams until the P&L reports start to show dips in sales. They may not know the full scope of the issue until somebody like me comes in to do a deep dive and sees what's happening with fresh eyes. Or in this case, you and I will just simply talk about examples of what we've seen, and that helps a listener hopefully diagnose and treat the issue on their own. Now, as you know, effective communications should be simple, but it really rarely is. There's so many distinct ways to improve poor communication without breaking everything else in the process. And I think that's where we're going to focus when discussing this topic.
Great. Now, Richard, I've known you for several decades now, but for our listeners, why don't you tell me really quickly, who is Richard Train and why should people listen to you as an authority?
That's a great question. That's totally fair. I learned business soft skills with multiple industries over my plus 30-year career from both really good examples and really bad ones, as I'm sure you have too. But really, it goes back even farther. I was raised in a family business that started back in the 1930s with my great-grandfather and my grandfather. And one thing that my family always stressed is that you need to master your strengths and do what you are best suited to. And I learned that I have become a subject matter expert on certain things. And since teaching has always been my favorite and most meaningful approach to most things, I realized that I get a lot more enjoyment from my skills when I pass them on to others. My personality is very extroverted and positive. And I started off in business to business sales and then marketing and then management and then running companies before I became a high level budget expert in a large federal agency, which basically means managing a lot of executives. And so, I also co-owned a practice management and marketing consultancy that solely focused on improving the business side of dental practices across the country.
Didn't you also have a podcast at that time?
Oh my God, yes. That was so much fun. We had our own podcast back in the very early days of podcasting, and it was really wildly successful in many respects in that very niche market of dentistry in the United States. And I love doing it, and doing a podcast now seems to be a natural fit.
It does. So can you give our listeners a preview of topics on deck for the next few episodes of the Nice Business Podcast?
I'm really looking forward to these. One of the things that we're going to be talking about, you and I both had good managers and bad managers, right? And one of the things that I really want us to tackle is, for managers, would you rather be loved or feared? That's one. Another one is, how do you keep your rock stars from burning out?
Oh, that's a good one.
And the last one includes one of my favorites. about sales, what kind of a sales force do you want? Do you want people who are partners with their clients, or you want them to be really, really slick schmoozers?
Mm.
And so that's something that I want to tackle too. So, to our listeners, chances are, if you've looked for a podcast to help in whatever is happening in your company, the issue is probably bad enough to cause you to start the search. I mean, if it wasn't, you probably would have been able to fix it by now, right?
Mm-hmm.
To that effect, we're going to be dropping some podcast episodes to hopefully tackle all of these burning questions that people may have. So I want to thank people for listening to this episode of the Nice Business Podcast. And if you want to learn how to keep your business nice, keep tuning in for more fantastic information. Say goodbye, Jim Bob.
Goodbye, Jim Bob.